You're now watching the Mike Missanelli podcast on the BetRivers Network.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Mike Missanelli podcast. Thursday, May 23rd, podcast number 187. Very interesting little number there. Of course, we're brought to us by the great people at BetRivers. This is a great time to download that BetRivers app. If you don't have it, you can make some great bets on the NBA playoffs. It comes and it goes, the hot streaks. I'm going to detail a little bad beat I got thanks to the Indiana Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton the other night, but not that you care about that. But let's get into what we're going to be talking about a little later in this podcast. Of course, my views on the red-hot Phillies. They are frankly ridiculous right now. I mean, this could be one of these years where they go wire to wire. Also, the Caitlin Clark phenomenon, we'll talk about it on a sociological level. Also, I'll have my views on our old pal Andy Reid and his views on his meathead kicker, Harrison Butker. But first, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and the status of this man's Emmy Award-winning show right now is in serious flux. And, of course, we're talking about our great pal, Charles Barkley. And here he is live from Minnesota. The great Charles Barkley joins us. So you brought your ass to Minnesota, didn't you?
Hey, man, listen, let's get one thing straight. When I get back to Philly this summer, I'm kicking your ass on the golf course. You've been ducking me for years. So as soon as I get back to Philly, I'm kicking your ass on the. Is it White Marsh?
Yeah, it's
I'm,
White Marsh.
I'm coming.
I predict that you will kick my ass because I stink right now.
No, I'm coming to your house. I'm coming to your house, and I'm kicking your ass.
You're going to beat a hobbled man. I just had a knee replacement, man.
Oh man, let me tell you something. Getting fake body parts is the greatest thing ever. You know, I'm telling you, dude. When I got my first hip, I'm like, damn. I could barely walk for like 20 years. I got my first hip, and I was like, this is the greatest thing ever. Then I got the second hip, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. So, man, good luck with that, man. You got to
thank
make
you.
sure.
So what that means is you give me how many? You give me a side with my handicap.
What's your handicap?
That's high right now. But
Okay.
I'm talking about between me and you. You give me 8 shots aside.
You out of your mind. You out of your mind.
All
Hey,
right.
when I played with Tiger, you can't take more than a shot a hole, and you can't get shots on par threes, man. I never beat him. I want to make that perfectly
Well, let
clear.
me tell you something. White Marsh has the hardest par 3 in Delaware Valley. It's 240-yard par 3.
That's just a nice little 7-wood for Chuck.
All right. Well, we'll get to that bridge when we come to it. Or we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. First of all, I know you picked Dallas. You're coming up roses right now on that series, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. I like to watch a lot of tape because you have to really look at the matchups. And you're saying, well, wait a minute. Your criticism of Minnesota all year has been two things. Because, they give me a hard time saying I never give them their flowers. I'm like, well, I had to give them their flowers after they won game 1 and 2 against Denver. But I said two things. Number one, they never used their size to their advantage. Karl Anthony Towns, even last night, he shot 9 threes. I'm like, he's playing against a guy who's 6'7", and if you shoot threes, it's so funny. It's the same criticism I use against Joel Embiid at times. I'm like, yo, man, why are you shooting threes? They can't stop you in the post. They have to double you. Why do you shoot threes? That makes the defense like, damn, he gonna shoot threes. That makes our life a lot easier. I said the same thing about Karl Anthony Towns. Every time he shoots a three. Now he did post up against Phoenix and Denver. That's the most I've ever seen him post up, and they won. And then last night he resorted back to the Karl Anthony Towns to drive me crazy. He
Well,
shot
when
nine.
you advertise that you're the best shooting big man in the history of the game, I guess you got to take threes, right?
Not when you're 7 feet tall and you're posting up against a guy who's 6'6".
Oh, I hear you. You're right, but these guys love the fact that people recognize them as big man shooters.
Yeah,
So,
it drives me crazy, Mike.
yeah, I know it drives Shaq crazy too.
Yeah.
So we'll get back to the NBA playoffs, but I got to address this because you're everybody's talking about you and the show and where it's going, and of course if you've been in a cave, you don't know that TNT may lose the rights. That means inside the NBA, one of the most popular shows in sports. could possibly go away. Here's the biggest view I get out of this. More people are upset about them losing your show than they are about the NBA playoffs. Like your topic is hotter than the NBA playoffs, which tells you how endearing that show is to people.
Yeah, number one, we appreciate all the love. And, we joke around. Man, I've been everywhere I go every day, 10, 15, 20 people like, what's going on? Like, dude, we don't know anything. And it really sucks. It really sucks, to be honest with you. It really sucks for all the people I work with. Obviously, me, Kenny, and Shaq are going to be fine in some capacity. We don't even know what that looks like, to be honest with you. But, this is our second job. This ain't our real job. And we have zero idea what's going to happen. But I feel so bad for the people I work with. Mike, you know, Ernie's been there a long time. Kenny's been there a long time, and I've been there 24 years. I mean, you think about this. Some of the people I met, they were having kids when I got to TNT. Now their kids are graduating from college. You got friends like that who you known your whole life. You're like, damn, your kid's graduating from college. He seemed like he was just born like a couple years ago. So I feel so bad for the people who work for Turner. And I don't know what's going to happen. It's going to suck if the show ends. You know what really sucks too, Dan? Excuse me, not Dan. Mike. I'm sorry, Darren. I was going to
Right,
say. I'm looking at.
you're talking to Dan Patrick later in the day.
Yes, but no. What really sucks is we got to do the show for another year.
I know
That's
you're a
what
lame
really.
duck. It's really
That
tough.
that
Every
that
show.
makes that makes it even worse. We're
Yeah,
going to be
every show's a
lame duck
farewell
next
tour
year.
almost.
Yeah, and then
But
yeah.
it's funny. Like you guys are in a helpless situation, and I know you would love to preserve this show, and it's out of your hands. That's got to be the most frustrating thing ever. That Amazon's coming in with big money, and NBC's coming in with big money, and Comcast, and all this stuff, and you guys can't do anything about it. It's got to be frustrating.
Yeah, that's the main thing. Like, it's kind of like it's kind of weird. Like you're in a room with somebody and you can't say anything, and they're talking bad about you, and you just sit there and listen. And you're like, no, I want to say something. Like, yeah, your opinion don't matter. So that's bad. But like I said, the most important thing is all these people are gonna lose their jobs. Like I say, me, Ernie, Kenny, and Shaq are gonna be fine. But I feel, man, it's probably gonna be 200 people who lose their job, and that really sucks.
Yeah, it does. Now, listen. There's no way that any responsible broadcasting network could not want to have you guys just move over there. And I know the Ernie component is important because when I look at Ernie, he's got the perfect touch to conduct the orchestra with you guys, and you might not get that at another place. But like, how do you feel about going to another place? Because I remember you telling me I'm not going to work past 60. And now here you are, Lord, and they're going to come with an offer. So, like, where do you stand right now? Would you go to join another outfit if it doesn't have the Ernie piece?
Yeah, I don't want to answer that question because I don't know. To be honest with you, some people have floated the idea that my production company should just hire those three guys and we go as a package to Amazon or NBC. If they get if NBC gets the package, obviously Amazon's already got the package. So that's the thing. I don't even know, to be honest with you. But Ernie's not going to lead TNT. Well, it depends on how much money Amazon or somebody offer. But the unknown is really, really weird in this case scenario. I like to say, I would never lie to you, Mike. We don't know anything. But what I don't know if these other networks want me, Kenny, Shaq, or Ernie. It's easy to speculate, but yeah, I would love to keep our band together if it was possible. Like let's say this is I've never been in a situation where I have zero idea what the hell is going to go on and what's going to happen going forward. So that's what probably sucked the most about it, to be honest with you.
So you still want to do this though? Like a couple years ago, you're going, and I'm not working past 60. But here I look at this show. This show keeps you energized.
Yeah,
But talking
no,
about
but
ball keeps you energized. I know you
you
like to play golf every day, but
yeah.
this show is important, I think, in your life for all the years I've known you.
Oh yeah, it's really important. But you know what really sucks, Dan? So when I signed a 10-year deal, like, damn, I call you Dan again. Okay, Mike.
No, he's on
Uh,
Dan Patrick later today, so
yeah,
he's got it. He's
yeah,
got
that's
his.
true. So Mike, what really sucks? So when TNT came to us a couple years ago, you're like, we're gonna rebid for the NBA. Excuse me. We want you guys to sign long-term deals. So I signed a new 10-year deal 2 years ago. So I'm in that situation. And then now I'm like, whoa, you made us all sign long-term deals to keep the show together because there's specific words where we want everybody to know the band's going to be together. We're going to shell out all this money to keep the NBA. Well, if y'all made us all sign long-term deals, why are y'all not keeping the band together? Those were their specific words in negotiations. Hey, I want y'all to sign a long-term deal. We want everybody to know y'all not going anywhere. And so that makes it even more frustrating.
Well, because they did that, they now you're looking at like they have the responsibility to rebid to keep the show.
Yes, but the one thing I did was really smart. When we were in negotiations, I said, well, wait a minute. I'm not going to sign a long term deal unless y'all give me a out after 2 years if y'all lose the NBA. So I'm really glad I put that in my contract. I was like, wait a minute. What happens if y'all lose the NBA? Well, I said, no. I don't want to hear no damn well. What happened? And they're like, well, we don't know. I said, well, I want to be a free agent in if y'all lose the deal. So, and I don't listen. I don't ever talk about other people's money. I have no idea what Ernie, Kenny, and Shaq put in their contract, but I specifically put in my contract, if y'all lose the NBA, I want to be a free agent. So that's where we're at.
So you knew that they had only a couple of years left in this NBA package, and you anticipated it.
Yes, and I wanted to either I'm gonna have all 10 years guaranteed, or I want to be a free agent. So I covered my ass just in case these fools lost the NBA.
That was pretty smart of you. Let me just talk about the show because here's what makes the show fun. I think for you and other guys, it rolls really smoothly and it's got these gears that mesh. It's a natural chemistry that you guys have. That makes the show fun to come to, right?
Yes, and it's fun, man. And I get along with all the guys. Obviously, Ernie's important, Kenny's important, Shaq's important. I love sticking it to Shaq. He's got thin skin, and Mike, you got a friend who got thin skin, and there's nothing better than poking the bear when you got a friend who's sensitive.
Oh, yeah, you work him like it's unbelievable how you guys work him. Let's talk about that for a second because here I look at Shaq and I shake my head sometimes. He has to defend himself. He's so insecure about not being regarded as the greatest ever, right? And he's got to keep reminding people that he's a great. Well, everybody knows he's a great player. It's like you're a Hall of Fame player. You never talk about how good you are. And
Yeah.
this dude seems to need that affirmation all the time. And you guys sense it and you like go for the raw meat. And
Hey,
he hasn't
that,
figured it out yet.
there's nothing better, and and what's really funny, like behind the scenes, he like when we start, we bragging about Joker, like, I would have killed Joker, right? I'm like, Jack, yeah, we know that. But he hates when we give like Rudy Gobert, 4-time defensive player of the year, how to kill Rudy Gobert. We're like, yeah, we know that, man. But you're not playing anymore. And so it's hilarious. I wish some of the stuff on TV is funny. I wish behind the scenes y'all could hear like anytime we give any other big man credit, his head explodes. I mean, it drives him crazy, and I love it.
Like, let me ask you this question because it's a bad look for him. It really is. When a
He can't
guy
help
is
it.
great and
He
he has
can't
to
help
try to
it,
look like
Mike. He
Tiger
can't
Woods.
help it.
What's that? He can't help it?
He can't help it.
Well, does he not know that it comes off bad?
I don't even think he cares. He lives in the moment. He's like, y'all can't be giving these other big guys credit. They can't hold my jock. I says, well, listen, dude, it ain't about like listen, it's hilarious. We love it. You know me. If
Well,
I see,
I can tell you and Kenny conspire to do it,
oh,
right?
dude, listen, it's like we're like sharks. When you smell blood in the water, like when somebody like a couple weeks like last week when Victor Wembanyama won like unanimous Rookie of the Year, he's like, I didn't win unanimous Rookie of the Year. Like, well, two other people got votes. Who got those two votes? He's like Alonzo Mourning, and he was mad. Like, I should have been unanimous Rookie of the Year. We're like, yo, man, that happened 40 years ago. Why are you still like, no, I should have won unanimous. I should have been unanimous. I'm like, Shaq, let it go, man. It was hilarious.
Dude, Shannon Sharp comes out and says what he says. He does a rap song, Beef, to get back at Shannon Sharp saying, if you're not one of the 10 best players in your sport, you have no right to talk. Come on,
Hey,
man.
he got a Kevin Dur- he got a Kendrick Perfect Perkins beef song. He's got a Kevin Durant beef song. Like if you say anything about him, he gonna do you a diss track. He gonna do a diss track on you.
Oh, man. That's unbelievable. Let me ask you about the blueprint for the show. Because this is what I'm curious. You guys got producers and you have smart producers, and they put in all these great little tweet things and little things. But did they just let you guys go, basically?
100%. Mike. The key to the show is I don't think people understand. The people behind the scenes are really important and significant because people don't understand. We're on from 7 o'clock to 2 in the morning. Nobody wants to talk about basketball, X and O, or just watch basketball. Well, unless you're a loser. Nobody want to watch basketball from 7 to 2 in the morning. So our job, first of all, we always hope the game is great. We always hope the game is great. But when you get one shit game, and the worst is two shit games, it's the worst night ever. That's the only time we're like, we got to do something to make people want to stay and watch. But like I say, it's the perfect scenario is we don't have to do anything. There's just two great games. But when you on from 7 to 2 in the morning and you've got one shit game or two shit game, that's when we try to like, guys, let's just do some fun and make sure the person at home enjoys this. Because like I say, as much as I love basketball, I don't want to watch from 7 to 2 in the morning if they're bad games. That's the only time we got to do something to take this to the next level because we want people to watch.
I love the fact that you called BS too, because Kenny said something in the pregame show yesterday about whoever wins this series going to be the face of the league. You said that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like you,
Yeah. Like we got clowns on morning television. Like I went on my rant about, yo man, relax. We love Anthony. We love him. They're like, he's like Michael Jordan. I'm like, he's had 2 good weeks. Let's slow down. He's had 2 good weeks. I love and Edwards. But come on, man. You went from Minnesota hadn't been in the playoffs this far in 20 years until last week. He's the second coming of Michael Jordan. I'm like, well, damn, there's a little in between, right? I mean, come on.
no,
There's a
you're
little in
right.
between.
Let me ask you about your best moment ever on the show, because I have one that still cracks me up, and it's one where you guys were putting attack up notes on there, and this was when the Jussie Smollett controversy comes up, and
Yeah.
you put two black guys beating up another black guy. It was hilarious because you go, if you're going to commit a crime, don't write a check. That was funny enough. But watching Shaq's reaction to that was hysterical.
Listen, you can't make this shit up, man. Think about this. So wait a minute. Okay, a black guy going the subway in the middle of the night, and I love Subway, but I'm like, I'm not gonna go there at 2 in the morning and then he get beat up by two black guys. I'm like, yeah. And then he writes a check. I'm like, wait a minute. You made up a story about two black guys beating you up. You're walking the subway at 2 in the morning, which subway's not open at 2 in the morning, more than likely. And then you write them a check. Like some of the stuff, some of the stuff that we see in society, you just have like, no, nobody's that stupid, are they? You make up a fake assault and you write a check. Come on, man. Like some of the stuff that happened in
No,
the world
the
today, you're
moment
like,
on TV was just hysterical. So I'm just wondering if there are moments that over all these years that stand out to you that just you look back and go, man, that was nuts.
that was the, it was nuts, but it was hilarious because one thing, we're reacting in real time, and we living in the news, and somebody will say something like, "Yo, man, this thing just came out about Jesse getting beat up walking the subway at 2 in the morning." Then it comes out he wrote a check. I'm like, "Are y'all serious right now?"
Yeah. No, see, that's what makes the show great. Shaq's reaction, like whatever you're talking about, Shaq's reaction, and then Kenny's always full of his own shit, and you guys, you guys call him out, and it just works so well. So let me ask you about
Yeah.
the.
So we always give Kenny shit because he's like, Kenny want to be like a
Yeah,
professor,
yes.
and we're like, and he tries to talk like I said, yo, like he drives us crazy because he's like trying to make basketball seem like it's like we're doctors or lawyers or something. We're like, yo, man, talk in basketball terminology. Because every time we go to commercial break, me or Shaq will be like, yo, man, it's basketball. You do know that, right? But he tries to make it seem like, yeah, this is algebra, this is geometry. Like, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's just
Oh,
basketball.
dude. All right, when you hit the guarantee button, do you know what's coming on you? Do you know what's coming down?
Hell no.
No,
Hell
they
no.
surprise you with that. They keep that under wraps.
Every listen, they keep it like the other night when I was giving Kenny shit. It's so funny you said it about because he's been falling going up the stairs. His legs are so bad, and I said he needs one of those little old people chair things. And like the next week, they got an old person chair thing.
They're called rascals.
Okay, so
Yeah, I
and I
think they're called
made that
rascals.
joke,
Yeah.
and like a week later, they had one, and that's what makes the show
It,
hilarious.
it does. Like you get rain with golf balls, ping-pong ball, but the one time you press
But
it,
I never
you
know.
never know.
To
Okay,
answer your
that's
Mike, to answer
phenomenal that you
your,
never know.
I never know what, and I'll be honest. Sometimes it hurts what they're dropping, but I never know what it is.
Well, the best was you press the button and here come dogs coming out of
Oh,
from the stage, and Kenny seemed like he was freaked out by the dogs.
I
Everybody loves
was.
dogs.
Yeah, he was freaked out, but they kind of came out of nowhere quickly. But man, listen, that's the beauty of going to work. Like we never know what's going to happen with the guarantee button.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. Let me just touch on a little thing because you did that CNN venture, and I'm wondering how you feel about that with Gail King called King Charles, and it got canceled. I watched it. I mean, I watch everything you do.
Well, you know the type of boneheads I work with.
What?
They haven't even told. First of all, it wasn't canceled, or they haven't. I talk to Gail all the time. They haven't told us we were canceled. That's how stupid these people are. Like I read the articles that we were canceled, and I was like, we weren't canceled. I was always only going to do that for a short period of time, and then I was going to go back to the NBA. So me and Gail, so this is how boneheaded these people are. I work with. I'm like, wait a minute, were we canceled? They didn't tell me that. We had already. I was going to go. I was going to do a short little window, and I was going to go back to the NBA. And so I really like doing it. I really like talking about other stuff other than basketball. But that just to show you how full of shit the whole thing is with CNN. Like we had new people take over and we in disarray. Like yesterday, they put an article out that CNN had its worst ratings ever since like 1992. Our late night shows, not late night, our evening shows had the worst ratings since 1990, somewhere in there. But as far as the King Charles, I really enjoyed it. I really like Gil a lot. But this notion, if we were canceled, they should at least gave us the decency of calling to tell us we were canceled. But we haven't been canceled. I was only going to do that a short period. Then I was going to go back to the NBA to answer your question the best I
Yeah,
can.
no, that's fine. I mean, listen, you took on a venture that I thought was admirable. Like, that's a challenge, another challenge, another venture, and you have enough solid opinions to make it entertaining. So let me stay on this path because I need you to explain this to me because you're pretty astute when it comes to politics. Can you explain to me, as a black man, why so many black people are now backing Trump for president?
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. Number one, people can vote for who they want to, first and foremost. I think the Democratic Party, I've always voted Democratic personally because I thought it was going to help poor people. That's where I was born, and my mom and grandmother like, hey, Democratic going to help poor people and black people. But I think what black people have learned is Democrats. Well, first of all, let me say what I want to say. I think we as black people or poor people, because I think black people and poor people in the same boat. We have to realize that neither one of these parties gives a shit about us. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, these parties don't care about us as people. I don't think they care about most people, to be honest with you, because they don't live in our world. They don't live in our neighborhoods. I think both of these parties are a sham, personally. That's my personal opinion. But to answer your original question is, I think that we as black people have always voted Democratic. But now we realize, like, number one, they only show up every 4 years in our neighborhood and ask us to vote for them. They never do anything for us. And I think black people finally had enough. But the flip side of that is I don't think the Republicans going to do anything for us either. But I think we as black people have to realize, and most people need to realize this, especially poor people, neither one of these parties are going to do anything for us. You're really on your own as a person. And this is just me talking. I want to make sure that this is just me talking. I think we, as black people and poor white people, they're in the same boat, have to realize, like, you know what? Our neighborhoods are still shitty. I voted Democratic my whole life. And other than the fact that I can dunk a basketball, when I go visit my neighborhood, it's still shitty. Our schools are inferior. And neither one of these parties are going to do anything to make our lives better. And we need to realize, like, you know what? I'm really on my own to make my life better.
I get Charles. I get that. Let me just point. Let me get like a little more specific. It appears to me, from what I've seen over the years, that the man who's now trying to run again for president has given life support and acknowledgement and acceptance to racism and racists. So when I ask you the question, it's like if somebody was running for president and said, "I hate Italians. I think
Yeah.
they're third class citizens," I would go, "Well, he doesn't have my support." That's why the pointed question I wanted to ask.
Yeah. You're 100% right. I would never vote for Trump for that simple reason. I think he promotes racism. I'm surprised and probably disappointed that see black people wanting to vote for him because he's had several opportunities to come out and say, I'm against any form of racism whatsoever, and he's never done that. But I am surprised that more black people, more prominent black people, are starting to endorse him. Like I say, I'm
Yeah.
surprised and disappointed because I wouldn't vote for him for the simple fact. I think that if you're going to be the president of the United States, you represent both parties in the United States. I think you should have to carry yourself in a certain way. Even if I disagree with you on your policies, you should carry yourself in a certain way. And President Trump, in my opinion, does not do that. Whether you like Mr. Biden or not. And I think he's a great person. I think he's too old to be president. That's my personal opinion. He's always been a great man. He carried himself with grace and dignity. And I voted for him, and I'm probably going to vote for him again. But I do think he's too old to be president. But President Trump does not carry himself in a presidential way, in my opinion.
So basically, we're stuck.
Yeah, and it's disappointing. You got the greatest country in the world, and both guys. I mean, it's interesting that we make you retire from every job at 65. We won't let you drive a car at a certain age. We got two guys who are over 80 who are going to be president of the United States, the most powerful job in the world. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'm stunned that no one has assumed. Like I'm waiting for a young Kennedy to come. Maybe I'm misguided. That'll never happen ever again.
And these politicians are so bad and evil because I don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. I just want the best for the United States. And these fools we have in D.C., everything is against party lines. And it's just a travesty and a disgrace what they've done to this country.
All right, let me close it down with this. I want to talk Sixers with you a little bit. I'm looking at the Sixers and how they're directed now by Daryl Morey. Now, I used to respect Daryl Morey. I don't know if he's got the right idea on how to build a team these days. When I look at the teams that win, they all have young energy. They all play hard defense. They're all well coached. Like Denver last year, these two teams that play defense with Dallas and Minnesota in the West. I don't know about the East, but he is hell bent on putting together 3 stars. And so now here comes the pursuit of an older guy named Paul George. I just think it's the wrong way to go. What do you think about how Daryl Morey is trying to build the Sixers here?
Well, I think this is the biggest summer in 76er history. I truly believe that. I think this is the biggest season in off-season Sixers history. Probably the biggest since they bought in Moses and won the championship because they got plenty of cap space. They got an MVP and an emerging star. What they do this summer is going to dictate whether they win the championship or become a middle of the road team for the next. First of all, it's probably going to end Joel Embiid's quest for a championship. But I think this is the biggest summer in 76ers history. I've said that on television. If they get the right guy, they can win the championship. Or get the right couple of guys. They don't have to get just one guy. To piggyback on your point, if they get one guy, he's got to be perfect. Or you can sign like 2. You got so much money, you can sign 2 or 3 guys. And if you sign the 2 or 3 great guys, it could be a really good thing. If you sign the one star and it doesn't work, your team is going to be screwed. You know what you could be? You could be my Phoenix Suns. They got 3 guys. They're all going to make over $50 million. They're a middle of the road team. They got swept in the playoffs, and they're going to have the same team next year. So I'm looking forward to Philadelphia this summer. Daryl Morey is going to have to make a really good decision. I root for this. I root for the 76ers. That's where I got my start. I want to see them win the championship.
Yeah, so there's
But
one
man, this
major
is
acquisition. Say it is Paul George. Does that one major acquisition put them in the echelon of better than Boston, now better than the Knicks, better than the Cleveland, all these teams that are rising up?
that's a great question, Mike. They still going to have to do something on the bench. I think it makes their starting 5 one of the 5 best in the NBA. But they gonna have to do something because you saw what just happened to the Denver Nuggets. They went out there with a great starting unit. They let all their bench players go from last year, and they were like, "Well, we can't pay everybody. Let's let our 2 best bench players go," and they end up sucking. So that's a great question you asked me because that's exactly what happened to the Denver Nuggets. They tried to run it back with 5 good starters and no bench because you have to make decisions. And they says, you know what, we're gonna have a bunch of young kids coming off the bench. They finished with 1 game out of the best record in the West, end up having and still had game 7 at home. But Their bench was awful in the playoffs. They ran their starters in the ground. And the one thing you don't want to do with Joel is have him playing 40 minutes a night, 45 minutes a night, and then when you get in the playoffs, run out of gas. Because that's what happened to the Knicks. That's actually what's happened to Joel the last couple of years. So,
See,
man, it's a
my thing
big
is
summer.
you sign a 34-year-old guy. He's going to miss a lot of time during the regular season. And then in Paul George's case, he doesn't have a great playoff track record. So I get where they're kind of they're hampered because they've got Joel Embiid. They can't build young. I get it. This is the window. But I just don't see the older player, the older star player. It's the same old, and that doesn't win anymore, in my opinion.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, listen, that's a really good point. 34, that's not a young guy. But the one advantage is Paul will have to be. He'll be the third best player on your team. He probably will be the third best number three in the league. He'll be the best number three in the league because Joel and Tyrese is their team. He'll be the best number three. The reason I picked the Celtics to win the championship, and they're really missing this guy right now. Porzingis is the best three. You can say he's 3 or 4 with Drew Holiday. There's nobody gonna have a better number 3 or number 4 than Porzingis, and you saw that all year. I said that before the season started. I'm like, hey, this is a perfect situation for Porzingis. He's not a number 1. He's not a number 2, but he's the best number 3, and he's definitely the best number 4 in the NBA. And that proved out the entire regular season. You bring Paul George to Philly, even though he's older, he's gonna be the best number 3 in the NBA.
All right.
And
All
so,
right. I mean,
but
if that's the case, then I'm okay, and we'll see what happens. But I look at these
but
teams.
it's but your criticism is fair, Mike. It's fair. But he doesn't have to be the guy every night. He can be the guy some nights. Max can be the guy some nights, and Joel's going to be your guy most nights. So it's a really good point you're making.
I'm looking at teams now. I look at the Pacers. They got these young grinders that keep them in the game. I look at Dallas. They made those trades. They got the grinders like P.J. Washington and Gafford, and they had guys that bring toughness, energy, defensive presence. And I think that's the way you win. Now I know they got two superstars. Dallas does, but they play hard defensively. Charles.
They do, and you got to give Jason Kidd and them a lot of credit. I talked about it with Kyrie last night on the game show. We never mentioned the Dallas Mavs in defense, but if you go back and look at the stats, the last 25 games they were a top 10 defensive team. Nobody ever said that before. And Miles Turner and Rick Carlisle said something great the other night. In the early season, I said this is the worst defensive team in the NBA. I tell them, we think about it. We're the we're the best offensive team. We're 30th in defense. I said, they can't win a championship like that. And they both said something the other night. They said, we got together as a team and says, well, we're good enough offensively. Then they made a great trade for Siakam. But they said, Carlisle said it and Miles Turner said it. He says, we were last in the league in defense. We're never going to be the best defensive team, but we need to be in the middle of the pack. And if you watch the Pacers, they've gotten better. Now, they got some bad habits. And that's what showed in the last game when they didn't switch on that 3. They are better defensively, but they had so many bad habits, it caught them. Because me and Shaq had this argument. He says, well, they don't have to be great defensively. I say, they don't have to be great, but they got to practice good habits. You can't just say, we're going to have good habits in the playoffs because your bad habits show because they're habits. And on that one play, they outplayed the Celtics, deserved to win the game. But on that one play, their bad habits showed up and they left Jaylen Brown open for a wide open 3, and it came back to bite them in the ass. So you're right. But the thing you're talking about with the Mavs and the Pacers, those guys who are playing well, they were like bench role players. That's what the Sixers got to do. They got to find some guys on the street, which are they easy to find? Yes and no. You got to find the right guys.
Gotcha. Charles, listen, when are you coming back? What day you be back in Philly?
Well, whenever this series is over, brother, get your knee ready. And you know what? You when you get your ass ready, I'm gonna kick your
Yeah,
ass. Just get your little knee
I have no
ready.
doubt that you will. But see, here's the thing: I've been trying to get you out here for how many years, and you
Yeah, you
always
wait till it's time for me. You wait till dude. I'm in Philadelphia all summer.
yeah, but
You
you're
reach
always big
out to
time. It's
me.
like you're playing this,
No, no.
you're
You
playing over
always
here
wait
one
till
day,
the
you're
end
playing
of
over
you
there.
always wait till the end of the summer. I'm in Philly for 3 months. You'll call me in the last month. I said, Mike, I've been here for 3 damn months. You call me when I'm
That's
packing
not
up, getting
true,
ready to
man.
go
That
back
is
to
not
Phoenix.
true. All right, so you're getting a call in early
Darren,
June.
I'm playing in that round, by
Early
the way.
June.
let me tell you something. Hey,
What?
hey,
What?
you know what's so funny? My favorite food is Italian. So I know both of you guys are Italian. And so, I just got on social
Yeah.
media. So I find myself, because I got my Vodka and gin, so they made me get on social media to do some things. And I'm flipping through, I'd be going through whatever they call it when you're looking at funny stuff. And Steve Harvey, one of my favorite people, and one of the questions on um, Family Feud was, what are Italians famous for? And one of the answers, this this black dude said, Italian dressing. I was like, and Steve Harvey looked at this dude like
Come on.
and Steve is always quick with it. And this dude said Italian dressing. And man, I find myself being on because some of this stuff is hilarious. But when this dude says, "What are Italians famous for?" and this dude said Italian dressing, I couldn't stop laughing. Found myself laughing like an hour later. Like this dude said Italian dressing. Oh,
Hey,
We should have Mike cook for
I'm good
us
in the kitchen,
after the
brother.
round of golf.
are
You
you
don't know about
really,
my culinary skills.
Yeah.
Plus,
Mike? Are you serious? Are you
I'm
seriously
deadly
good at
serious. I went
cooking?
to a cooking villa in Tuscany a few years ago.
So my second mom is a lady named Diane Calabrese. She lives in Philly. She's my second mom, and she kind of adopted me when I got to Philadelphia in 1984. And I see her every at least 2 or 3 days a week when I'm in Philly during the summer. She cooks for me. She hooked me on Italian food since 84, 85. She's like my second mom. I actually just saw her last week. I stopped in there to get some clean clothes because I was on the East Coast. And man, the Italians, man, y'all do it right, brother. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
let me tell
lie.
you something.
Now,
When I was
soul
7 years
food.
old, I would sit at a table, porcelain table with my grandmother. She would roll these gnocchis to me, and I'd have to roll them off a fork, man. I'm primed in the culinary skills.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we'll make that
hey,
happen
Darren,
too.
Darren, he talks a lot of shit. We'll see when I
But
get back.
Darren knows. See, Darren knows.
He does.
I want
He
to
is
see
a
for
good cook.
I'm gonna
myself.
do
He has
fresh
cooked for me. He's
pasta,
good.
dude. That's my specialty.
Oh,
All right.
All right.
I mean, hey, I'm
That's
I
always in for
roll
some
it. I
pasta, brother.
cut
that's good.
it. I cut. Man, you don't know about the skills I have, Chuck.
I'll bring the
Well,
wine.
listen, count Chuck
All
in.
right.
I'm in,
All
brother.
right, you got it, man. Hey, listen, thanks for spending some time with us. We really appreciate
Yeah.
it.
That'll be a
And
good day.
Anytime,
good
brother.
luck on the Dan Patrick show.
Thank you,
All
brother. I appreciate that.
right, man.
Hey,
See you.
I'm gonna when I hang out with you guys, I'm gonna go on LinkedIn. They turned me down because
LinkedIn.
they asked me. I told them they said, "Have you ever had a real job?" I said, "No." They're like, "Most people don't start looking for a new job at 62." I said, "Well, I've never had a real job, but I've been busy."
Charles, you get the most traction on Instagram, probably, or maybe
Uh,
even Twitter, but Instagram definitely for what you're doing.
it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been great. Yeah. Thank you,
All right, man.
guys.
Thanks, Chuck. We'll talk. All right, that was the great Charles Barkley, man. I hate to follow Charles with anything because it's going to seem irrelevant. But on the Mike Missanelli podcast, just a couple of things before we leave you. The Phillies, I got to mention, this is phenomenal what they're doing, and they're off to the best start ever. And again, it's tempered, and a lot of people want to temper by the fact they really haven't played anybody. But I look at baseball now, and there are a lot of great teams in baseball. So if they beat all these teams, that's fine by me. They're on a pace to win 114 games. Now that's not going to happen, obviously, but this team sure reminds me of a team that can go wire to wire. Like the 93 Phillies. So we'll see about that. One thing on the NBA, just to tag this, we didn't really get into the Pacers-Boston Celtics game the other night. I looked at the game and I said, Pacers are going to stay close. On the BetRivers app, it was -10. I go, I'm reluctant to do it because I never know how Boston's going to come out, but I warned that layoff might hurt them. But instead, I saw another interesting bet on BetRivers. It was Tyrese Halliburton at 19.5 points. And I go, man, that dude's got to score 30 for them to really be in it. And he's been scoring a lot. That line's fishy. So I go under 19.5. We get to the final seconds of the game, and Tyrese Halliburton is sitting on 19. If the Pacers close that game out, I win the bet. Instead, they turn it over twice, and Jaylen Brown makes that three-pointer to send it into overtime, which cooks me. And it can happen that fast when you bet something. Because I went to the overtime, I knew he was going to score a basket, and I'm done. But if that shot does not go in at Jaylen Brown, or if they foul before the three-point shot, they win the game, and I win the bet. But it's a tenuous world when you bet, but it's fun as hell. All right, one thing on Caitlin Clark. I just want to put this in perspective. Now, like this thing goes on where a lot of people are making remarks that the only reason that everybody's so consumed is because she's white and attractive. Well, first of all, I gotta be honest with you, I don't want to be chauvinistic right now, but I don't think she's that attractive. But in any, she doesn't have that kind of appeal to be popular. But the only reason I know she's popular is because she dominated college basketball. That didn't mean she was going to dominate the pros. And I said she's going to be up against some bigger, stronger women that are going to give her a hard time if she gets in the league. So none of this that she struggles in certain games is expected by me. But there is kind of a racial component to this. There is some whiteness involved, because she's perceived as the great white hope in a game that's dominated by African Americans. I totally get it. So with that's going to come like the great white hope feeling, and then resentment on the other side because she's white getting all this attention. I boil it down simplistically. She dominated college basketball like Pete Maravich did. And so that's enough for me. If she goes in WNBA and struggles, well, she struggles. And if she doesn't grow into a great player, which I think she will grow into a great player, I think she's going to get a lot stronger. But I think that this fuss over her is going crazy. It's really simple. She was a dominant college basketball player who did things that nobody ever did. And because she could make 40-foot jump shots, nobody ever did that. That's why she got the attention. All right. One quick thing. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes took the side of their kicker, Harrison Butker. I would expect that they would do that. Now, if he was a crappy kicker, I guarantee you they wouldn't. Since he's a great kicker, well, of course, there's nothing wrong with Harrison Butker. What Harrison Butker did is the example of a total meathead. And so, but a teammate can't criticize him. So we don't give any credibility to Andy Reid sticking up for him or Patrick Mahomes to stick up for him. They have to stick up for him. And maybe Andy Reid does kind of have view. I mean, he's a Mormon, and Mormons are all about having family, and the wife is not really the achiever. So it was natural that he would say some of that. But the bottom line is Harrison Butker's a good kicker. They need him. They weren't going to come out against him. All right. Okay, let's just close it down. The Mike Missanelli podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed the Charles Barkley interview, and we'll obviously get him down the road during the summer and have some summer reviews from Chuck. He'll be a regular guest here. You can email me, mike@mikemiss.com. You can check me out on Twitter at mikemiss25. And of course, I mentioned Charles. I don't think he heard it. I'm a part owner of a winery called Natali Vineyards in Cape May Courthouse, New Jersey. Memorial Day, you want to get down there and have some fun? It's supposed to be crappy. If it's a cloudy Saturday, Memorial Day weekend, go down and visit the winery. You'll have a nice time. Right, Darren? Oh, you haven't been there yet. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm coming. I was going to come. You're not going to be down the shore this weekend. I was going to meet you over there.
Yeah, it's too crowded for me on Memorial Day. There's too many traffic
Yeah.
things. I like to go down with a better pace.
Well, for all those that are going down.
But in any event, my daughter will be down there. She'll be having some fun. Maybe she'll show up at the winery, and you can ask little Mikey Miss female to say hello to her. All right, everybody have a great rest of the day, and thanks for listening to the Mike Missanelli podcast. Tell your friends and neighbors. All you got to do is subscribe for free. It'll come to your inbox every single time we do a pod. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.